started like a dream following the pronouncement by President Bola Tinubu after the removal of the fuel subsidy in May 29, 2023 is becoming a reality. In October last year, if you recall, the federal government took a bold step with the launch of the presidential compressed natural gas, that is a CNG initiative, as part of efforts to deliver cheaper, safer and more climate-friendly energy. Now, the CNG initiative was designed to deliver compressed natural gas, especially for mass transit, as part of intervention to reduce the burden of the increase in pump price on the masses. The vision is to ensure the deployment of CNG buses and tricycles and to get at least 1 million natural gas-propelled vehicles on the roads by 2027. A major feat that will mark a major energy transition in the nation's transportation industry. In due time, it is expected that the use of diesel and petrol will gradually phase out. However, experts are concerned about its sustainability, suitability, viability, and diminishing environmental pollution, which they believe are some of the advantages of the federal government's intervention in mitigating the effect of the hike in transportation. But ahead of the launch of the CNG initiative that will be on the first anniversary of the Tinubu administration come May 29, what value would this initiative have on citizens? And what role will the private sector play on its sustainability? Are there safety regulations in place? Well, on Weekend File tonight, our focus is on compressed natural gas rollout, prospects for economic growth, and our guests are Michael Uluagbemi, Program Director, Chief Executive, Presidential CNG Initiative, and Dr. Mohammed Bawa, Group Managing Director, ABG Group. They will be joining us from our Kaduna Network Center. As usual, we have reports on perspectives and expectations of Nigerians of the CNG initiative. Welcome. This is Weekend File. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Ruth Aguela. First, we'll begin with the news. Residents of LML local government area have attributed the constant accident along the east-west road to the reckless attitude of drivers of heavy-duty trucks who ply the area. Their reaction follows the tanker explosion of Friday night, which claimed several lives and consumed over 100 vehicles. Marian Vicent Oko brings us a situation report.
This is how busy the petrochemical junction along LMA axis of the east-west road can be. The reasons are not far-fetched, as the area plays host to major oil and gas companies, including the LMA refinery, and also leads to the Onne seaport. So, when a fire incident occurs, nothing short of this level of disaster is bound to be experienced due to the heavy traffic usually experienced in the area. As at Saturday afternoon, the tanker which caused the Friday night explosion was still dripping petrol, while NEMA and other relevant agencies made effort to transload what was left of the product. The Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, and his deputy, who visited the area, described the incident as unfortunate but avoidable.
We recorded, from what I'm saying, a huge numbers of vehicles being destroyed and souls lost. But I've already asked the agency, the security agency, to give us a full brief so that we can come into the situation fully.
Some residents of the area wonder why people still engage in scooping petroleum product from accidented tankers without considering the consequences of their action.
It's quite unfortunate that human beings, I would not say out of poverty, one would decide to lose his sense of reasoning. Otherwise, how can you see such a dangerous situation? You say you want to go and scoop fuel?
Let any company within this geopolitical zone take precaution and pay attention to every driver they are to employ. They need to be trained, properly checked.
As at the time of filing this report, the exact number of vehicles burnt was yet to be ascertained, as eyewitnesses put it at between 100 and 200, while NEMA has commenced effort at evacuating the remains of victims still trapped in some of the vehicles. In Eleme, Mary and Vincent Oko, NTA News.
Quite unfortunate, and a similar incident happened in Abuja, where we hear a gas tanker explosion that occurred in Itaoshin claimed 4 lives, with about 6 vehicles razed. NTA News gathered that the explosion occurred when the gas tanker maneuvered along the road railings leading to the accident. The impact of the accident extended to houses and shops in the area, while the casualties involved were taken to the hospital for treatment. Firefighters, security and medical teams have swung into action at the scene of the accident. In other news, Vice President Kashim Shettima has emphasized the importance of service to humanity and peaceful coexistence in Nigeria, urging political leaders to project the beauty of the nation's cultural diversity. He made the appeal at the conferment of the chieftaincy title of Ashiwaju of Ijebuland on industrialist and philanthropist Suleiman Adebola Adegunwa, held in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
This colorful gathering in the ancient city of Ijebu-Ode is in honor of one of their own, Dr. Suleiman Adegunwa, the new Asiwaju of Ijebu. People in their different attires welcomed the vice president, who came to celebrate with them, describing the new Asiwaju as a leader committed to entrenching peaceful coexistence across the nation.
It's a show of compassion, it's a show of humility, and the entire landscape was broken by schools, security posts, and so many corporate responsibility items that dotted the whole of Ijebuland and the nation as a whole. We celebrate with him, we commend him, and we have a moral duty to call on all Nigerians to emulate the lives of Chief Adegunwa.
Baba is a confident yet very humble man, both in appearance, vision, and innovation.
I pledge my support.
The Awujale and paramount ruler of Ijebuland, Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetona II, who conferred the chieftaincy title, commended Dr. Adegunwa and his wife for distinguishing themselves in character, respective fields of endeavor and contributions to the community. Oba Adetona II, who has been on the throne for 64 years, said the palace had observed the Adegunwas with the joy and pride, as they have exhibited honesty, integrity, and uncommon development in Ijebuland. From Ijebu-Ode in Ogun State, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
Within 10 months in office, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, is confident that the ministry will deliver on its mandate. The minister expressed the optimism at the 4th ministerial step-down retreat in Abuja. Mia Ogidi reports.
Whoever is weak will try to shore up, but when the weakness becomes dysfunctional and becomes a cog in the wheel of progress, then that weakness will be removed so that the whole can move. The president has said ministerial appointment is not an entitlement, and that those who fail to perform will be asked to go. On that occasion, I told everyone that my case would never get to that, because I would have fried your ass before the president fries mine.
A step-down retreat and Dele Alake giving the right treatment to the staff on how the 4th item on President Tinubu's 8-point agenda can be achieved. That is, unlock energy and natural resources for sustainable development. And to achieve this singular goal, the ministry's 7-point agenda must be implemented with all the deadline pressure it deserves.
You can now call me Pastor Dele Alake if you like.
Literally turning the podium to pulpit. all to convince the staff on why they must deliver on their mandate.
From the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings, he shall not stand before mean men. When you give 2 or 3 people the same licenses for the same site, are you being diligent? Now that discourages serious investors. It is the character of a man that determines the essence of a man or a woman.
From spirituality back to the reality on ground, Dele is proud of his staff because within 10 months in office, a lot of positives to celebrate.
Within a space of 3 months, we've recorded over 70 cooperative societies established.
From the National Assembly is solid support for the Solid Minerals Development Ministry.
This mineral gas that the minister is proposing is key to this thing.
The House of Representatives has introduced 2 key legislative interventions in harmony with the 8-point agenda and the policy directive of the ministry.
It is a 2-day retreat and the staff mining their minds to get the best with their mental faculties in the aspects of reviewing the journey so far and the challenges ahead. Mie Ogede, NTA News.
Katsina State Governor and Chairman Northwest Governors Forum, Diko Mururada, has called for global security collaboration while addressing concerns regarding Nigerian governors' decision to participate in a 2-day symposium organized by the United States Institute of Peace. Addressing concerns about the governors' meeting outside of Nigeria, Radda explained that sharing experiences and ideas on a global scale is crucial in today's interconnected world. Governor Radda further expressed his appreciation for the U.S. recognizing the need to engage with subnational government in Nigeria, pledging the support of Katsina and other states. Following the security dialogue, the northern governors, led by the Katsina State Governor, visited the U.S. State Department and met with the Assistant Secretary of State for Democracy, Human Rights, and Undersecretary of State, Jose Fernandez. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia says it is committed to providing humanitarian aids to Nigeria in the interest of Nigerians. This was during the handover of 100 tons of Saudi premium dates to Nigeria in Abuja for distribution. Tokpe Alabi reports.
Over the years, Saudi Arabia's monarch humanitarian aid and relief centers have been providing support to Nigeria, with the most recent being the It'am initiative in March 2024 by distributing food baskets worth $400,000 to about 6,000 households. The donation was received by Nigeria's Deputy Director, Middle East and Gulf Division, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Murtala Jima, and Saudi Arabia Ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Faisal Ibrahim El Ghamdi, says giving dates is part of annual humanitarian aids besides other interventions of 98 projects in the country valued at $47.2 million.
We have economic and political issues, especially after the meeting of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with the royal car, with the Crown Prince, where we are expecting a strong relationship in economic and trade.
Very soon, the 2 countries is going to inaugurate a business council, which is going to Nigeria-Saudi Business Council, which is going to oversee business and economic partnership drive between the 2 countries. So we are really moving forward.
The Saudi Ministry of Islamic Affairs has been coordinating King Salman's distribution of dates in 93 countries and iftar banquets in 60 nations. In Abuja, Tokpe Alabi, NTA News.
The Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, INAN, is assuring members of its commitment to continue to render a responsive and integrity-based service and contributing towards national development. This was at the 42nd Annual General Meeting of the Association in Abuja. Bossade Abel reports.
It is another year of stock-taking for the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, ANAN, as the financial report for the year under review, among other deliberations, were brought to the fore.
The information provided is consistent with the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria's financial statements.
12 months down and 12 months to go. The president of the association, Dr. James Neminebo, says he's leaving no stone unturned by giving the body a facelift as a premium brand.
Today, we have been able to go through all affiliations, all West Africa, African professional and PAOs. We meet from time to time in AGMs, in seminars, in webinars, and everybody has known Anna, which gives the visibility.
He has given a very good report for the last 1 year he has been in office, and which has actually also impressed the members for another 1 year, that is last 1 year that will be in the office.
Mariam Ibrahim Marafa was adopted member of council to occupy the vacancy of 2 members who retired as council members.
I'll try my best to work for the interest of Anna, inshallah.
With over 70% achievement of the strategic plan in the past 1 year, Anand says the next 1 year will be channeled towards human capacity development, facilities development, and making Anand dream a reality. In Abuja, Bosede Ebo, NTA News.
All right, let's go on a break. But when we come back, the conversation on compressed natural gas rollout, prospects for economic growth will begin. Stay tuned. All right, and just before we begin our conversation on compressed natural gas rollout, the prospect for economic growth, you know there are. Let's bring some reports now for you before we introduce our guest. CNG has been widely acclaimed as a cheaper and cleaner alternative fuel. Well, the Nigerian government introduced the compressed natural gas as part of its energy mix to cushion the effect of the petrol subsidy removal. Now, this is also in line with government's aspirations at creating employment and attaining net zero by 2060. Lydia Sampson reports.
Petroleum subsidy removal translated to higher cost of pump price of petrol, with ripple effects on transportation and livelihood. Determined to provide palliatives across the value chains, President Tinubu's approval of the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative aims to revolutionize Nigeria's transportation sector. These battered the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas. This initiative has since hit the ground running, collaborating with key players both in the public and private sector in establishing conversion centers across the country. In collaboration with the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology, PCNGI has continued conversion for various organizations, including the military. Private sector participation is already gaining momentum.
The government is doing a lot to encourage us to expand and deepen into CNG infrastructure, which NIPCO hitherto has been on it before the advent of this government. But with the coming of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he has further encouraged us by ensuring that we are partnering with NNPC to expand the infrastructure of CNG in Nigeria.
The government's commitment is evident through incentives like import duty waivers and VAT exemptions for CNG-related equipment, offering significant cost savings for vehicle owners and a cleaner environment for all Nigerians. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Well, as the federal government plans to roll out compressed natural gas vehicles by May this year, some businessmen and key players in states of the Southeast Zone want the government to ensure that the 5 states in the zone benefit in its plans to provide conversion workshops and refueling sites for effective distribution of the compressed natural gas. Chinenye Nwoye reports.
Studies have shown that one of the main causes of air pollution is primarily the amount of gases emitted by gasoline and diesel engines. Natural gas vehicles are said to reduce tailpipe emission by up to 40%, and Nigeria has natural gas in abundance in at least 30 out of the 36 states of the Federation. Aside its health benefits and its being climate-friendly energy, research has shown that compressed natural gas is cheaper, and when used in vehicles, it would bring down the cost of public transportation and reduce the burden in pump price brought about on the masses by the removal of fuel subsidy.
Rolling out a CNG powered tricycle and vehicles will actually help reduction of cost of transportation. It will equally help as an alternative to fossil fuel, and it's far cheaper than the ordinary fuel we use daily.
This perhaps could be some of the reasons why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in October last year launched the Compressed Natural Gas CNG initiative and a presidential committee to deliver the safer and cheaper energy, especially for mass transit. For the people of the Southeast Zone, this initiative is a laudable one, as it would go a long way in promoting and facilitating their businesses.
Any policy that the government brings out that will caution the effect of the removal of the fuel subsidies a welcome development, and will equally help to build small and medium-scale enterprises.
The Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative Committee is partnering the private sector for the delivery of the first set of critical assets for the deployment and launch of the CNG initiative.
We don't have any outlets where you can go and refill your CNG in your vehicle anywhere. So these are things government will partner with IPMAN and other players in the industry to see that people can easily convert their vehicles or their tricycles or whatever easily.
If CNG is being introduced and effectively used, we will be like part of a Western world.
Nigeria is set to join nations that already have fleets of CNG vehicles, and if things work out as expected, then better days await Nigerians. And this will also mark an energy transition in the country's transportation industry. In Enugu, Chinenye Nwoye, NTA News.
All right, now let's begin our conversation. We have two guests, I told you, joining us from Kaduna. Let's introduce the one joining us from our Kaduna studio, Mr. Michael Oluwagbemi. He's the Program Director and Chief Executive, Presidential CNG Initiative. In the course of the conversation, I'm sure Dr. Mohammed Bawa of the group Managing Director, APG Group, will be joining us via Zoom. We lost the connection, so I'm hoping. Okay, great. I can see him. Dr. Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us. I was just telling the viewers that we lost you earlier, but good to have you join us. But let me start with you, Mr. Oluwagbemi. You led the Presidential CNG initiative, and we're hearing that the first phase is set to be rolled out. 100 conversion workshops and, of course, 60 refueling sites across 18 states in the country. That will be before the end of the year. How feasible is this, going by the foundational reforms that the committee came up with?
And good evening to your viewers. I want to say that we're very well on track to meet all our objectives this year. With respect to conversion centers across the country, we are beginning to see the private sector jump in. As at Friday, 85 conversion centers were either about to be complete or ready to go, or will be ready to go by the middle of this year, latest July 31, 2024. And we expect at least 15 more to get started before the end of May. So we will definitely be on our way to 100 by July, August of this year. So we probably will hit the 100 targets before the end of the year. and we're very optimistic. In terms of refueling stations, all across the country, we're launching refueling stations as the private sector begin to come in. Just 2 weeks ago, I was in Ibadan to launch the 2 sites, the Ajibode sites for Bovas. NIPCO is launching 4 new sites next month in Lagos. We have 6 sites that are pending for NIPCO also in other parts of the country. Bovas has 4 sites in Kwara State, 2 sites in Ekiti, 2 sites in Abuja, and at least 1 site in Nasarawa State. Across the country, our core partners, 6 companies, including ABG, are launching 10 sites before May 29, 2024. As I said, I think definitely this progress we are beginning to see, which has seen us attract over $50 million from the private sector into the refueling infrastructure as well as the conversion workshop infrastructure across the country, is yielding positive fruit, and is in the direction which the President has asked us to head, which is the private sector leads, the government catalyzes and supports, and that is definitely good news for Nigeria.
All right, thank you, Mr. Oluwagbemi. We'll get back to you. Let's join Dr. Bawa. Dr. Bawa, of course, the private sector is expected to play a critical role, is already playing a critical role. Mr. Oluwagbemi just mentioned the $50 million investment, actual investment, looking at refueling sites and all of that. What profitable, impact would this be for the private sector, looking at investment that is already trickling down? Dr. Bawa, we can't hear you. I'm sure you mute your audio, so can you open that for us? Unmute your audio, please, if you can hear me.
Yes, my audio was muted.
Go ahead. I'm sure you grabbed my question, so go ahead.
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I did.
go
Good
ahead.
evening, Nigerians, and NTA, thank you for having me tonight. I think I would start by saying we all know Nigerians are entrepreneurs by nature. And what we've always wanted is the enabling environment, the playing field, and the support by government. This government has taken the bull by the horn. They have put the enabling environment in place. Mr. Michael and his team are doing a great job. The platform is there. So automatically, private sector are already keying in, and we're actually keying in our drones. As of January, I knew there was like 4 or 5 private sector players in the field. But I can tell you now, I know there is more than 20 private sector players keying into the compressed natural gas space. And the whole value chain, from the refilling to the compression to the conversion and all that. So Nigerians, once again, I would say, are entrepreneurs. Now that the atmosphere is inviting, you will see a lot of Nigerian business people investing in this industry.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bawa. I'll definitely get back to you. Mr. Oluwagbemi, you just had the commitment from Dr. Bawa, but earlier you talked about the role of the private sector. Now, I want to draw a concern, a major concern, Mr. Oluwagbemi. Most vehicle owners are still being skeptical on whether they should convert their vehicles, from fuel to CNG. There are doubts. People are worried if it's safe. I know there's been an 80-document policy out on the safety regulations, but you led the committee. So tell us how safe and, most importantly, how reliable it is.
Very much. I think it's quite obvious. I think the lead story you had today was about petrol tanker explosion and the dangers associated with petrol vehicles, generally speaking. CNG vehicles are much, much safer. I mean, natural gas CNG is an extruded container that is bulletproof. It's also it has a very high auto ignition temperature, almost 1,000 degrees. It's just, which obviously is quite impossible for you to achieve, which means that it's much more safer in natural conditions than petrol. It rises, it dissipates very quickly, it's much lighter than air. All of these attributes make CNG intrinsically safer than PMS and diesel. Quite a lot of people confuse CNG with LPG. CNG is a process of natural gas exploration and development and production. On the other hand, LPG is a product, just like crude oil and kerosene, a product of crude oil refining, which makes LPG not as safe as CNG. So CNG is much safer. No one has anything to fear. With respect to reliability, that was the reason why we have those regulations you spoke about, the 80 standards and regulations developed by the Standards Organization of Nigeria. Because when you convert your vehicle to become hybrid, by the way, when you do those conversion, those vehicles they don't just run on gas, they still run on petrol, such that if you're in an area where you cannot find gas, you can continue to run your vehicle on petrol, and you will not see the difference. It's hybrid, it runs very smoothly, the changeover is very smooth. So the idea of those 80 standards was to ensure that uniform standards conversion are taking place in accredited workshops. Everything that is being done is to the book, and to make sure that you're not taking your vehicle back and forth auto mechanic workshops after you do those conversions. That's important to us, and also to ensure that there is interoperability, such that if you have your vehicle converted in Lagos, you can fuel it and refill it in Abuja, and so forth and so on. So I think these things are issues that are being worked on. We are setting up a Nigerian gas vehicle monitoring system to ensure that at the point of conversion, to the point of inspection, to the point of refueling, we're able to track all the natural gas vehicles in Nigeria and to ensure that they are operating safely and reliably. I think with the support of the Standards Organization of Nigeria and the Nigerian Automotive Development and Design Council and the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology and all our private sector players and more than 22 agencies that work with us on those standards, we're beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel to the proper launch of this industry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Oluwagbemi. Dr. Bauer, I'd like to bring you in now. Mr. Oluwagbemi just mentioned the monitoring aspect when this conversion is being done, from the fuel to the CNG. And the private sector plays a very important role in the aspect of ensuring that these refueling sites are available, readily available. In Abuja, someone was just sharing with me earlier today, we just have 2 refueling centers here in Abuja. I know there are prospects, to push to expand it. For you as a stakeholder in the private sector, what strategy will be deployed to ensure that every Nigerian who is interested in this mind-blowing initiative, benefit?
That's correct. Like I said earlier, we are very entrepreneurial Nigerians. So I am aware that before the end of May, you should have at least 6 refueling stations in Abuja that are available to sell CNG. Right now, we have only 2, and we know how it is. Everybody has converted, has to rely on those 2 stations. So there is some queue and all that. But before the end of May, for reliable information from private sector, there's going to be at least 6 refueling stations in Abuja where one can go and fuel his vehicle with CNG. So you can always count on the private sector. Anywhere there is enabling environment and there's profit in it, private sector will key in.
The part of the enabling environment, which is very important for businesses to thrive. As a businessman speaking, we'll get back to you both. We'll take a break now. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Good to have you there. The conversation is on compressed natural gas rollout, the prospect for economic growth. Before we bring in our guests to pick up with the conversation, we'd like to bring you some reports. Nigeria will soon join countries with large fleets of compressed natural gas vehicles. And when this is achieved, the country stands a chance of benefiting in various aspects. I'm sure that you're already getting a client with. Larry Gbeleyin in Lagos takes a look at how this will improve the socio-economic development of Lagos.
Lagos, with a population of over 20 million and more than 1 million cars plying the roads daily, is one of the states with the highest consumption of petrol and diesel. The removal of fuel subsidy caused increase on transport fares. With compressed natural gas (CNG) in at least 30 states of the Federation, government embraced a paradigm shift in energy transition, especially in mass transit, through deployment of compressed natural gas vehicles to reduce reliance on petrol and diesel, thereby making transportation affordable.
Movement of people within the urban areas done majority through road transport. In the adoption of CNG in that regard, you see an effect on reduced cost of fueling, reduced cost of maintenance, and that in itself has an implication on the cost to the end users.
I'm very excited about it. I'm hoping that the government will come to our aid and allow us to be able to turn some of our old buses, change the engine from diesel engine to gas engine.
We have natural gas in Nigeria, so it's a no-brainer. I think it's important that we take advantage of that. But most importantly, once we're able to deploy CNG, it makes transportation cheaper.
The implementation of this initiative can be termed killing two birds with a stone, as it will also mitigate air pollution, which aligns with the Paris Climate Accord.
It is a good step in the right direction because burning natural gas is less toxic to mammalian life and less harmful to the environment.
To make this initiative a success, the federal government allocated 100 billion for the purchase of 5,500 CNG vehicles. This include electric buses, tricycles, and over 20,000 CNG conversion kits alongside development of CNG refuel stations. The federal government will also partner with private firms in the aspect of refueling stations and conversion centers, among other measures. This will no doubt improve the socio-economic development of Lagos. Lanre Bilayi, NTA News.
So we've heard from stakeholders. Why not we hear now from a, CNG user, which they say is the best thing that has happened to them? Well, Lydia Sampson will guide us on that.
Khalid Odumachijani took the pain of investing in the initial conversion, then at the sum of 500,000 naira. 5 months on, he hardly spends 1/3 of amount formerly used for petrol on compressed natural gas.
Before I converted my car, it's been like I was making money actually, but the more money I make, the more I spend on fuel. But since I did this conversion, it's like I'm saving more money. So it's usually economic free and it's user friendly.
Khalid is not alone. His testimony resonates with other CNG users.
I do Uber and Bolt, and I spend like 40,000. With CNG, daily I don't spend, maybe 7,000 as compared to 40,000. So you see the difference.
The amount of conversion honestly is a little bit higher. It's a little bit high, maybe from 700,000 to 800,000 due to the exchange rate now. So conversion 6-cylinder, the amount is a little bit higher than the 4-cylinder.
But for us, like civil servants, it becomes another budget entirely for us. So we have to go and take loan to get fuel in advance, because it's like getting fuel in advance. So I'll give it a try if I have the opportunity of getting 900,000. Because with this explanation so far, I spend up to 30,000 naira to fuel my car to office weekly. So with his explanation, if I have something like this, it means I will spend 3,000 naira a day.
They say the advantages are enormous, especially since their vehicles now operate on the energy mix of CNG and petrol. Therefore, when they run out of CNG, which covers about 150 kilometers with barely 3,000 naira, they simply switch over to petrol until they are able to top up their CNG. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Well, some are already reaping the benefits. Now, let's bring in Dr. Bawa and Mr. Oluwagbemi. Dr. Bawa, if this initiative must succeed, the private sector must stand, its ground. And we want to hear your final thoughts as regard the possibility of the prospective demand when this, is finally launched. What are you saying on having a return on investment as a stakeholder? Mute it so we can just hear you. Fantastic.
Can you hear me now? Simple answer.
Yes.
Returns will be huge. And just to add, since you said it's a final note, on our part, what we've done, because in the article you had earlier, I had some civil servant talking about the investment on the kits and the conversion. On our part, we have partnered with the bank, and anybody who wants to convert his vehicle and sees that the initial investment is on the high side, we can recommend him to the bank, and the bank will pay on his behalf while they deduct the money over a period of time. And by the way, that would be interest-free.
Dr. Bawa, thank you for that initiative. I'm sure Nigerians will be smiling with that commitment you just shared with us. We want to thank you for your time, Dr. Bawa, on Weekend Val. Dr. Mohammed Bawa is the Group Managing Director, ABG Group. Thank you very much. We have to let you go now.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, now, Mr. Oluwagbemi, let's hear your final thoughts. The conversion kits Dr. Bawa just mentioned, we hear more than 20,000 is already available, but Nigerians are concerned. You know, the whole initiative is to reduce cost of transportation. Now, I want to convert my vehicle, and it's cost intensive. Will it be subsidized? Because affordability is key.
We'll be announcing on May 29. What will be a targeted conversion incentive program for the mass transit sector. We're currently working with our partners in the mass transit sector, NURTW, RTN, and NATO, to determine the modalities of providing these equipment and kits through our affiliates and core partners spread across the country who are running the conversion centers, but we'll be able to provide it at subsidized costs, significant upfront discount, while allowing them to pay back slowly for the balance for conversion. So this, we hope, should be able to allow this more than 20,000 conversion kits that is now available to be made available to the public through the mass transit operators in a short while. Let us also remember, for us as a government, it's not really a subsidy. Currently, Nigeria is the second largest flare of gas in the world. We are wasting our gas. By providing conversion kits so that our natural gas vehicles can run on natural gas instead of expensive, dirty, less reliable, unsafe petrol. We are making sure that the gas that Nigeria is blessed with, instead of being wasted, is being used. Suddenly, when the gas is being used, which will be sold, of course, at concessionary prices, as announced by NMPDRA this week, luckily, even those prices is better than zero or even negative, because when you burn gas, you're also destroying your environment. So Nigeria really, at the end of the day, is not really giving anything, but I won't call it a subsidy. I would say it's utilization, an utilization fund.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Oluwagbemi. Of course, utilizing cheaper gas alternative is just the way to go. We're seeing the benefits play out. Thank you very much for joining us. He is the Program Director and Chief Executive, Presidential CNG Initiative. We'll take a break now. We'll be back shortly. Good to have you there. Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has assured Nigerians that the military is exploring all options to resolve security challenges in the country and make education centers safe at a time when there is apathy to encourage pupils to enroll in federal government colleges. General Musa, an alumnus of Federal Government College, Sokoto, 1985 set, gave the assurance when he performed the ceremonial tee-off of Unity Schools Old Students Association 2024 Gulf Carnival in Abuja. He promised to improve civil-military relations as plans to resolve the crisis in Okwama.
We need to unite, support the security forces to ensure that we achieve success. The security forces cannot do it alone. And that's why we need every Nigerian to look at this as a challenge that Nigeria must not fall, not when we are alive.
We didn't know whether you're a Muslim or a Christian. We were just there as innocent toddlers, and we made friends. And these are friends that we have kept for life.
We also have a duty as leaders to mentor. So each golfer you see here will adopt a younger Yusosan or a Nigerian to play golf.
Unity Schools old students participated in the sports carnival as they conclude plans to reinvest in their alma mater and reduce the current burden of funding on the federal government. And that's where we call it a night on Weekend File. Thank you for your company. Do have a good night rest. I'm Ruth Aguilera. Bye.